What's going on, everybody? Bitcoin Birch here, coming to you again from Bravado HQ with another really exciting interview. We're going to be diving in today with Menlo One. Today I have with me Matt Nolan, and we're really excited to learn more about what the Menlo company is working towards. Matt's going to share with us some different updates and also share with us exactly what he's looking to accomplish. So we couldn't be happier. Matt, thanks for joining us today. How you doing, sir?
Hey man, thanks for having me. I'm doing good.
Good, good, good. So what I like to do, just to kind of kick things off, people tend to, gravitate towards different personal stories. So I'm curious to know what yours is. I want to hear a little bit more about how Matt got into cryptocurrency, and then I think most importantly how that translated into you guys starting Menlo. And then of course we'll talk all about some of the goals that you're looking to accomplish. So tell us, how'd you get into this crazy space?
I had a roommate back in 2009 who was really into this thing called Bitcoin, and he was telling me all about it. And I thought, well, he's a bit of a hacker, so I thought, oh, that's fantastic. The hackers have their own money now. Interesting. We'll see. And he showed me the whole thing, and I said, okay, this is great. I don't think this is going to replace cash. I mean, I like the ambition, and I held Bitcoin, and I kind of followed the event, and I didn't really fall in love with the ecosystem until like probably Ethereum. A buddy came over in 2014 and said, you got to check this out. And I checked it out, and that was it. And then it's been a bit of a roller coaster. Life has been a lot different ever since.
Yeah. So what's your background? I mean, obviously you're very tech savvy. So what were you doing before you decided to kind of branch into this world?
Oh man, I've been developing software basically my entire life, professionally since 15 or so. And yeah, I mean, I've done
any exciting like early projects back in the day. Any like cool things you want to tell us you built?
Let me think. I started a company called Speak in 2010. We ended up selling that one. That was a fun one. It was acquired by Jive Communications. We made conference calls easier. Hey. I'm a bit of a user experience like nerd. I was programming since age 8. So when it came time to go to college, I studied design because I was already like a professional coder. So I thought, well, what's the point of getting a degree in something I'm already doing? So I'm a bit of a nerd for like making things easier, right? So we make conference calls easier with Speak. I was working at JP Morgan for a while, making banking easier. It was hard to do. So I got a job at an online casino, and we built one of the world's largest HTML5 casinos. We made like casinos easier, like the mobile friendly. I made chatting across borders easier. I had a startup called Verona, where our mission was world peace one swipe at a time. So we were making world peace easier. So I just kind of like making things easier with code, man.
Absolutely. So that's an awesome transition. What is Menlo making easier? What was the goal here?
Oh, you'll never guess it. We're making dApps and the user experience of crypto a lot easier. So dApps are just, I mean, they're great, right? I mean, decentralized applications are a wonderful, revolutionary, amazing idea. But unfortunately, there's some serious usability issues, right? It just doesn't work having, MetaMask pop up every 2 seconds, having to authorize every transaction, like having to do all of this stuff, right?
The biggest thing getting in the way of us going to mainstream is the fact that it's not that easy to use most of the tech that we're buying, right?
That's exactly it. So the framework just makes it easy. It makes using a dApp, it gives a dApp the same experience as using something like Facebook or Amazon or any of these other things, and not just in whether or not your wallet is asking for permission, but also in terms of speed. We figured out how to make interacting with a blockchain at both reads and writes as fast as interacting with a web server.
So there's other platforms out there that exist to help dApp developers build products. What specifically is special about Menlo, and how is it completely unique from like a Waves platform? How is it different from another platform that someone might use to launch a token? Are you trying to help people like launch tokens? Are you trying to help people? Is it full suite, or are you more of like a developer platform?
We are a developer tool for launching completely decentralized tokenized web experiences. And that's a lot of like buzzword stuff. So I'll break it down. So we never take custody of a user's private keys ever, right? And I'd have to check Waves. I'm not too sure. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I'm not sure, but most do, right? Because that's the easiest possible thing. Take custody of the private key, do a bunch of stuff on a server.
Yep.
So it's a little bit like a WordPress type of scenario where we're offering this developer framework to build a lot of different things. And we're kind of focused on marketplaces, but you can really build a tokenized version of basically anything that you could do with the web, right? A tokenized LinkedIn, a tokenized Facebook, a tokenized this, tokenized that, a tokenized Spotify, for instance. And so anything where there is an exchange of value of some kind, whether it's exchange of currency, renting something like a tokenized Airbnb, or even exchanging social value, like liking or commenting on something like a tokenized Facebook.
And what would you say for if I was an app developer, if I was someone looking to get into the tech space, maybe I'm a startup junkie and I want to roll out the next great product. What's the benefit for me to even want to build a D app as opposed to just going the way that we've gone for 20 years? That's continued to evolve. Just like what would you say the sales pitch is of a D app in general before we even get to Menlo?
That's a really interesting question. So actually, until us, I thought that the only use case for cryptocurrency, the problem that cryptocurrencies and decentralized technology solves is fundamentally a philosophical one, right?
Yep.
Decentralized, it's like much slower, it's much more expensive, and the only reason you would want to use Bitcoin over Cash or Visa is because you believe in something. You believe that society should be different, right, than it currently is, and so it scratches that itch. Specifically in our case, actually, decentralization serves a very special business need, because of being disintermediated means that we, if you look over all the broker dealer regulation around handling securities, and certainly some of these tokens will be deemed by the SEC as securities, it's all around an intermediary. So by disintermediating ourselves, we're exempt from a lot of this broker dealer regulation. So it's actually, that's how we're able to do what we do. So decentralization in our case is like key to us being able to function. But I still think that the primary use case is a philosophical one, that the evil centralized overlords, and I think that's still a bit of an understatement, that govern our lives, right? The people that sell our data, monitor everything, sell it, give it to the government, sell it to third parties, Facebook and Google. Like it has to stop, right? I mean, all these free services still they're not free, and they come at a cost, right?
Absolutely.
And if you follow this, if you go down the rabbit hole of this, then really, I'm a believer that decentralization has the power to even disintermediate governments. I think maybe eventually we would need government. It'll take a lot of solidity, but I think theoretically it's possible. And so I guess just as the internet itself wasn't cheaper, faster, easier than using an encyclopedia, people stuck with it because they believed that it would lead to something greater for society down the road. And I think that's actually still the primary reason for doing decentralized technology.
That's awesome. And I think we'll definitely circle back to kind of the use behind dApps, because I have some of my own thoughts on that as well. But moving forward a little bit, are you guys then aiming to be, are you your own protocol? Are you an ERC20 and an EP5 token today? Tell me a little bit more about the actual utility of the token and where you look to take that in the future.
We're a code base. We're a matrix of protocols to interact between multiple different technology layers, Solidity to our JavaScript based front end, to interacting between Ethereum and IPFS. So there's a series of protocols, a series of algorithms, but I just kind of think of us as a code base. Yeah, what was the second question?
Yeah, so your series of protocols, is there a lot of people are looking for buzzwords like testnet or mainnet and things like that doesn't apply to you?
I mean, it does. I mean, although I think that we have code that you can run right now on testnet and check it out. we took Town Hall, which is the communication part of our framework, and we just kind of made it its own autonomous things for people to check out while we develop other things. We think it can be useful for people while we roll out everything else. And it is, you can run it on testnet, but at the end of the day, like whether something is on testnet or mainnet or is an MVP or is a, it comes down to like, what problem does this thing solve? And can the team adequately solve that problem? Whether or not it's on testnet or whether or not it's a protocol or whether or not it's whatever it is, at the end of the day, like it's all about kind of like solving problems for people. So we are available on testnet, and you can run our code and you can bang. And in fact, I encourage everyone to fork it and make something with it and then tell us about it, or find bugs or, write better docs, that's always the thing. Yeah, so we're available on testnet.
Absolutely. Very, very cool. Yeah. And I noticed that on your website that you have a link directly there. So the website is Menlo.one for all of you guys who want to check that out. Now, you guys use what you like to call at least a proof of reputation system. Tell us what that means.
So proof of reputation is a way for us to ensure that people are behaving in a way that's virtuous to the network. And I'll break that down. Menlo One is fundamentally it's an attention economy, right? And which is and some people have their gripes about it, but it's a business model that's worked well for Facebook and Google. So I think it's worth exploring for the Web 3.0, right? But we need to the existing attention economy, the advertising ecosystem is plagued by like botnets and stuff. Yep. These parasitic these parasitic bad actors that sort of suck money out of advertisers, right? Yep. Abusing the system. So with Menlo One, what we wanted to do was I'm a believer that if someone is making money off of my attention, they should at least give me a cut. So for every, about half of what goes to a content node for providing data on our system, the other half goes to me, the viewer. So essentially like an ICO profile, for instance, in the case of an ICO marketplace, the ICO profile is effectively an advertisement. And I of course am the user and I'm getting paid to look at this thing. So but we needed a way to ensure that botnets and people who were otherwise unqualified customers were not just sort of vampiring money out of the system. So we needed to keep a tally of what an actor's deeds and an actor's words and what the peers think of this individual. And it turns out the blockchain technology is like really well suited for this use case. And some of these emerging design patterns like token curated registries are like really, really well suited for these types of use cases. And so proof of reputation is a system in which only people who have a good reputation receive the payout from interacting with the network. And reputation has to be earned, and reputation cannot be transferred. So it's a lot like real life, right? And reputation is one of the few things of yours that can't be bought or sold, Yeah. And there's multiple types of reputation. You get one type of reputation for commenting and upvoting and leaving reviews and stuff, and another type of reputation for, let's say, buying a bunch of ICOs or tokens, in the last, recently, right? So,
is there a confirmation piece here? So, am I a node holder and I'm confirming transactions, or where does that come in? Where do node holders come into play?
Oh, you don't. I mean, you don't get to control your reputation. It's assigned to you by third-party oracles, right? These smart contracts that determine, what type of and how much of these, we call them reps. It's just like it's an integer. It's a value associated with your public key, and you can always sort of like dump your account and start fresh if you don't have a great reputation. But that's sort of the baseline is nobody gets paid in Menlo unless they have a good reputation, and it's earned over time through actions. And so there have been a couple other systems which have proposed this. DAO Stack and Backfeed have talked about this for a while, and User Feeds is talking about this, and like AdChain is talking about this, and the token curated registries, and everything's kind of it's sort of been not quite tangible. So we wanted to really we want to take this stuff and apply it to like a really strong use case.
Yeah.
For instance, right? So in the Menlo One ecosystem, you have sort of three actors, right? You have the viewer, you have the ICO profiler, the advertiser, and then you have these content nodes which cache all the data. And forgive me if I'm like being too technical, or if you want me to, whatever, pause anything. So then we need a way to incentivize these content nodes for providing, for providing data, and doing so in a way that's performant. And that takes money. Like hosting a node on AWS is not a cheap thing, right? So, for instance, these content nodes don't get paid at first. They got to just foot the bill. It could be thousands of dollars a month, right? But over time, they earn a reputation, and that reputation enables them to cash in on the money that's put into, the essentially advertising money that ICOs are paying to have people serve their data. They can cash into it over time, and so then they can make a considerable amount of money over time if they continuously provide quality service.
That's awesome. So if I'm thinking of it being an investor, because ultimately a large part of our audience is far beyond the tech and they're looking to maybe make some solid investments. As a company, tell us a little bit more about Menlo, right? From just traditional company metrics. How long have you guys been working on this? And if you look forward, if you look down your roadmap, 6, 12, 18 months down the road, what are some of the more exciting milestones you're looking to accomplish? And then I'm also curious just to learn about how you guys are intending on making money, right? Tell me a little bit more about the business metrics behind Menlo.
That's a great question. Actually, we're sort of taking a very unconventional approach to our business, right? I think it used to be that the Web 2.0 business model was you set up a marketplace, you get people transacting, and you take a cut of the middle, right? It's Airbnb and this is everything, right? My theory is that the people who win
or the freemium model, right, where you just get users and you serve ads to them.
Exactly.
That's
yeah.
all Web 2.0, right? So.
Exactly. This sort of man in the middle, business model.
Yep.
I got a theory that in the Web 3.0, the person who wins is the one who can give the most away the fastest. Okay.
Content.
So not just content, but if you look at what are the top two cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and Ether, right? I mean, those are run by nonprofits, right?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of, by definition, it's not profitable.
It's not a business.
It's not a business. And so we're following in those footsteps, in that we're just giving everything away for free as fast as we can. So we're selling our token, Menlo token, which is not an investment and it's not a security, and it works with our existing software.
100% utility.
100% utility. They do exist,
Yep, absolutely.
And that's actually profit for our company. And we're selling a cap of $15 million worth of this profitable digital property. And with that money, we're going to build more software. We're going to build the rest of the ecosystem, and we open source absolutely everything. And we're not really planning on profit going forward. We're going to host the first nodes, and just to get it going, and we're going to make a tremendous amount of money doing that. Right?
That's exciting.
It's going to be a lot of money for like a small company. We're going to do the first year is going to be great, but then we're going to be actively encouraging everyone to compete with us, to fork our code, to host a node. We'll help them do it. We'll help them take our money, take our revenue away from us, right? Please take our money. And what we want is to build a larger ecosystem of nodes, serving these ICO profiles. And we'll be, financially, we're all right. For us, this is more than this is more than, I guess, sort of seeing who can become the richest person the fastest, or king of the molehill. This is more about what can we do to further this technology, because it's quite honestly more fun than whatever, I don't know. I mean, if I had $1 billion, I mean, I would get sport of speedboats and sort of caviar, like whatever that would buy me. I mean, there are billionaires out there who have a longing to have the type of effect on the world that we are going to be having, right? I mean, if everything keeps going according to plan, we'll be ideally changing society, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
who gets
That's
the
exciting. I
good
mean,
for the better?
that's a huge undertaking too, and so that's going to be a massive accomplishment on your guys' end. But also one of the things that I was intrigued by, and the reason I brought that up, I was kind of thinking that was going to be your answer. But I mean, you guys, as you mentioned, you already have a test net before you're doing an ICO. Like you already have this product that's getting out there into the world that you're trying to utilize. And as someone, again, the demographic of people that we're talking to, a lot of them are looking at where do they want to put their time and their energy. And so I'm also thinking towards, as a tech person, how do I become a node holder? How do I support the network in that way? How do I get more involved with Menlo? So what are going to be some of the requirements around that?
Oh, I mean,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Can I run a
Absolutely.
node?
Anybody. Oh, 100%. Yeah. It'll be easy to, we'll distribute the thing probably in Docker. So it'll be super easy for you to just spin up a AWS instance and just get Menlo running and participate in the ecosystem.
Yep.
And the application itself is going to be like a one-click. It's just going to be super simple. You install, click, click,
It's all
click.
about user experience. You said before, because setting up a node right now for any layman is extremely challenging. At least the experiences that I've had, and I'm fairly tech savvy, right? So one of the things I'm desperate for as someone who really loves this space and loves to interact with it, and I interact with a handful of D apps on a regular basis. I interact with the space a lot, but they're all crap as it relates to my user experience, right? So that's one of the things that you guys are completely dominating, and that's where you're looking to change.
100%. Yeah, this should be, easier, faster, and cheaper than a centralized system, and we will not stop until it's exactly that. Buying a token on Menlo will be easier than buying a pair of shoes or something on Amazon.
That's incredible. Now, I've heard you mention a lot of different, you've said a few different times ICO profiles. So when you think about the developer that you're trying to attract to your platform, come use Menlo to build your D app. Are you finding that the people most interested are people who are looking to have an ICO as well? Because not everyone who builds a D app is going to have an ICO, right?
No, that's right. That's right. I mean, when building the technology, we needed like a use case to start with, and so WordPress, which is a super flexible framework, started with a blog.
Yep.
Ruby on Rails started with this Twitter generator, so you can make your own Twitter. And we thought, well, since we have to make a use case for it anyway, we might as well start with the part of the ecosystem that is the most important and also the most broken, right? ICOs. And so as a way to sort of flex our muscle and a thing to build a technology around, we're solving the ICO use case. And
that makes sense.
We're building the ultimate ICO marketplace, the ICO marketplace to end all of ICO marketplaces.
Now people won't be investing in ICOs using the Menlo token, right? Like people are still going to do their own, like an ERC20 or, right? So that's not necessarily the use of the token, but just to be clear for those watching.
100%. So, I mean, right now, 90 to 95% of the market does ERC20. They have their Ethereum in their wallet. They send it to a smart contract. They get back the ERC20 token. Yep. So we're not going to ask the ecosystem to do anything different than it's already doing. We're just adding this feature layer on top, right? We're just making all that a lot easier. And not only that, we're also because Menlo is running on this local program on your machine. We can also start downloading EOS when it's ready, and we can do Hashgraph and Stellar and all this stuff. And so the goal is to have literally every public ICO on Earth at launch, right?
That's incredible.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
That's a huge use case, obviously. So that gets people who, again, it's not an investment, right? But it gets people who are going to be fans of the company and holders of the token optimistic about what that token's future value could be. It's not something that I'm sure you guys want to spend any time speculating on, but again, that is the market that we're in today. And so as someone who's interested in the Menlo project and the Menlo One company, I'm looking for use case. I'm looking for, how are you going to be any different than other people trying to solve the same problem? So that's really unique.
Thanks. I mean, our token is, we're selling our token because it's a critical part of how our software operates, and our software would not operate without the token. And that's why we're selling it.
That's the utility, right?
That's the utility. And frankly, we think that should be the sole reason that people should buy our token. And what the token does in our ecosystem, I mentioned this attention economy,
yep.
Right? Where, so in an ICO marketplace, for instance, the ICO will buy a bunch of Menlo tokens from us, and they will put them into an escrow smart contract. And those are used to incentivize the content nodes and paid users for looking at the profile. So even though the system is transacting Ethereum and EOS and stuff, as the same type of ICO that's happening outside of the ecosystem, all of the attention is being monetized with Menlo token as this fundamental transactional currency. And so that's the use of Menlo. And you were asking, Joel, about how could you get involved in the ecosystem? Actually, specifically you, because you're a thought leader and your organization you guys have a great reputation. We wanted to solve the issue of like who you trust online as well, because that's a critical element to any ecosystem. Like, it's to the point where nobody trusts anything online anymore. So we've created guilds, a type of DAO where people come together and form an organization. And it turns out there's a lot of studies done. It's really hard to bribe an organization, right? And I'll pick on John McAfee or somebody like who publicly said he accepts bribes for shilling an ICO. And so it's easy to bribe an individual. It's quite hard to bribe an entire group of people with the right incentive systems, right? Where there's an incentive to try to rat them out, and then the group gets a payout. If I'm not explaining this right, but it's in our product vision.
I know what you mean, yeah.
But it's an opportunity for thought leaders like yourself, or for people who haven't made a name for themselves yet, to form an organization and leave reviews. And these are reviews, unlike the reviews on Amazon, unlike the reviews on Airbnb, and especially Yelp.
Right.
Yelp is like that's completely gamed, right? For the most part.
Yeah.
These are reviews you can trust, because everything on the internet is all about reputation, especially in a marketplace. And so Menlo token is used to compensate people for leaving reviews, right? So the product, and this maybe an ICO or a restaurant, will leave Menlo token in an escrow in a smart contract, which is given to these guilds to leave reviews, and the amount of tokens that they get is based on their reputation, how many upvotes they get, right? So presumably a restaurant reviewer, Mr. Zagat's or whatever his name is, he would have a tremendous reputation. He would get paid a lot of money per review, right? His reviews are worth a lot of money. If Vitalik led a blockchain architects guild, he would get paid a lot of Menlo token for leaving a review. So Menlo token is used as this sort of transactional currency within the system.
Well, it's nice too, because we talk a lot about having trustless systems in crypto. We talk a lot about trustless being a good thing, but then the reality is in any traditional setting, right, in an interaction or a transaction between people or companies, there has to be some layer of trust in order to, and so when you put your reputation behind it, it's going to de-incentivize a bad actor, right? It's going to put some skin in the game. And so a lot of people tout Bitcoin sometimes wrongfully for privacy, even though Bitcoin's not very private at all. But people tout privacy when they talk cryptocurrencies or decentralization, when the reality is privacy is not always the best thing. And then some people also tout the public ledger, right? People tout the ability to see everything on the blockchain, everything lives on the blockchain. But again, for transactions and for interactions with individuals, not everybody's laundry should be out in the public ledger, right? And so you need some level. So it's not a perfect world, and the same holds true here, right? So with trustless systems like smart contracts are paramount in order to just kind of let the tech do the handling of the transaction, but you still need to have some layer of reputation in your case, right? And that's why proof of reputation, I think, is a really exciting concept. It's something that definitely, kind of gets my mouth watering a little bit as just a nerd at heart when I think about it. So that's That's pretty cool to think. It's just, I don't know. It's a challenge that I think is going to be extremely hard to get really right. But if you do, it's a complete game changer because Yelp is a joke, right? Like you can't take a Yelp review seriously. And I actually I come from a startup that has done very well, over $9 billion traded on the stock market now after going public. Very prominent tech stock that uses a review system as well for their merchants. And what we found is that the 5-star system is trash because people are either 1 star or they're 5, right? And there's very little in between, or it's very arbitrary. Like, can you describe what's the difference for you as a user when you rate somebody 4 stars or 4.5 stars? Like, you can't quantify. It's just completely subjective. It's just 4.5 stars. It doesn't hold a lot of weight. So, anyways, I'm rambling on, but it's because I get what you're trying to solve for, and it's super exciting and important.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you bring this stuff up. It's actually when you dive into it, it's actually like a super interesting and super deep topic. There's a fantastic O'Reilly book called I think it's like Engineering Online Reputation Systems, written by the guy who was like doing all the product at Yahoo for like a decade, and he found like he found these same things. Like it was a U curve, and
Yeah.
and the majority of the time, the only people who would leave these 5-star reviews, or the majority of reviews are 5 stars, except for the occasional 1 star, right? And so this has been a problem plaguing online reputation systems for a long time. This is why YouTube used to have a 5-star thing, and then they moved to, I think, an upvote, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yep.
And there's,
well, have you ever given an Uber driver 3-star? Like you don't get out and give someone 3 or 4. It's 5 stars every time unless they spit on you or dropped you off at the wrong place or took the wrong way, and then it's a 1-star, right?
Right.
So it's just it's a complete trash system.
Yeah, and so this is if Amazon tries to get around this by showing you the distribution, so that if it's all 1 and 5, but if you look, it's still not quite. It's usually often very polarized. So what the idea behind guilds is that the community can choose questions where they can give this sort of like 0 to 100 answer, right? And the questions are chosen by the community, and all the questions are hashed and they're stored on Ethereum. So what the questions are, and then of course the answers are all smart contract on Ethereum as well. Mm-hmm. So for a blockchain architects guild, you could say like, on a scale of 1 to 10, like, how well organized is this code base, right? And so that's the thing. You're going to have a varying sort of or for a guild of graphic designers, they can say how well was the use of typography in this layout, or how friendly was the user experience or conducive to user retention, right? And so this is a thing where a bunch of design nerds can sort of have this sort of discussion and give these grades, and then they're compiled into this thing. And so it's not just like review this thing that just happened, but instead review the quality of something. It's not, yeah. So it's really like all about reviewing sort of these qualitative aspects, I guess. So
that's awesome. So when you think about your platform, typically so I'm admittedly not a huge dApp fan, only because 90% of them don't need to be dApps. It's Uber on the blockchain, or it's Match.com on the blockchain. It's whatever. It's just crap, right? It's just cash grabs. And so traditionally, if just when I hear a dApp, it's usually a strike down, and then they can work their way back into my own personal trust of whether or not I think it's going to be worth having. But I love the idea of a dApp platform. You can disagree with the fact that dApps should exist. You can disagree with that, but it's hard to disagree with the fact that they will exist. It's 100% a truth that people are going to continue to build dApps. So if I have an opportunity to participate in the platform that people are going to use to build dApps on top of, I could give a shit if the dApps are good or not, or if they solve a real problem, because it's not the dApp that I'm worried about, it's the platform underneath it. So that's pretty cool as well that you guys are the underlying platform like the WordPress. My question is, are you guys trying to target your mom and pop, so to speak, developer who just wants to throw up their own small startup or project? Or are you guys trying to go after larger enterprise solutions or larger scale companies and say, hey, convert your product to the blockchain? Or are you kind of, who's your target demographic?
I mean, absolutely mom and pop bedroom developers with an idea in their head.
Yeah.
We want to be as you know, it's a big goal. I really admire Ruby on Rails, and I mean, our dream is to be like the Ruby on Rails of dApps. You know, that's where we're going. But we are talking. So yeah, individual solo developers, but also we are in conversations with very well established top 50 websites like unicorns who are looking at adopting our technology. And
Wow.
unfortunately, I can't reveal their name quite yet. I would love to, but.
Right
Take a look.
here.
Take a look at Town Hall, where we're upvoting and downvoting and leaving comments and upvoting threads and stuff, and just take a wild guess of like who we might be talking to. And so
We'll do some sleuthing.
yeah, pretty soon. We're gonna have to get the contract signed, but there's a lot of people from the Web 2.0 who are super interested in the possibilities of decentralization. And I agree with you, like not everything needs to be on a dApp. I think we're going through this sort of I guess technological puberty, I guess, where we're sort of growing up and we're a little bit it's a little bit awkward. If you look at like the Web 1.0, people were taking whatever wasn't on the internet, putting it on the internet.
Yep.
Something
The phone book.
The phone book. That's perfect. And there are some cases that didn't make sense, like pets. Did we need a dedicated pet store on the internet at that time in '99? Probably not. But
that was the biggest .com bust there was it not?
That's exactly it. Yeah, pets.com with the talking puppet thing. Yeah. And so I think we're seeing a lot of that now. But I think what's starting to happen from my perspective is, like if you described Facebook to somebody in 1998, it would sound crazy, right? It's this mishmash of where all your friends are on videos and there's photos. Like it would be hard. Facebook is a Web 2.0 native application where you needed to have photos. Facebook before photos was a bulletin board, right? It wasn't captivating enough for the mainstream. And so with the Web 3.0, I think we're starting to see use cases of use cases where dApps and decentralization and immutable ledgers can do things that the Web 2.0 never could. And so like we're one expression of that. And we're trying to re-architect, help rethink of what an app is and what its core elements are. And we're not the only one. Like DAO Stack, some friends of ours just had a very successful ICO. They were doing some things that were previously impossible. Before blockchain technology. And I think we're going to see a wave of these things. And right now it's kind of like, blockchain for X, but I think pretty soon we're going to start seeing like stuff as revolutionary for the world as Facebook was for the world when, Web 2.0 was a new thing.
Yep. I don't disagree at all. I think it's hugely important, and you're probably early. I think you're definitely early, but first mover advantage has usually played out very well for most people in the space, right? So I think pets.com was a little before their time. I think there's no doubt that exists today, but before people were ordering things online and just, having that stuff there didn't make a lot of sense, like you said, but I think being early is a good thing. Just to wrap it up, because we are running up on time and you've answered all my questions, and I'm more excited than I was before. Just for those watching who are interested and eligible to participate in the token sale, tell them where to go. And also, you said you guys are doing a $50 million hard cap on the token sale. If there's any other token economics that you care to share, or any other plugs for where people can go to check that out. We don't have an affiliate link with Menlo. We're not promoting the ICO on our side, but for those that are interested and, like I said, eligible to participate, where can they go to learn more?
Sure. Go to our website, www.menlo.one, O-N-E, and we have all the info there. We have a 15. It's a $15 million.
Oh, sorry, I misspoke.
It's all right. No, everyone's like, it happens a lot, and then people are like, wow, it's kind of a high cap. Like, really? I don't know.
Even better, yeah. And a little bit more reasonable. So yeah, $15 million hard cap, and you guys are doing a private pre-sale.
A private pre-sale, and that starts July 16th.
Okay.
And so go ahead. We're about to launch KYC. I think we're about to start doing KYC whitelisting here in a few days. So join our Telegram and keep your eyes peeled. We'll make an announcement there. And then July 16th, our private pre-sale opens. And then our main sale is David, when is our main sale? It's July. It's the 30th, I believe. Yes. Okay. We just pushed it back by a few days so that we could. There's a couple partners that we had to squeeze it, so it's July 30th is our main sale date.
Very cool. Awesome. Matt, thank you so much for hopping on and giving us a breakdown of what you guys are looking to accomplish. You know, I've spoken with you a few times. Some other people that I really respect in this space, I know have put a lot of support behind Menlo, as well as a couple of the Bitcoin Bravado analysts who actually introduced me to you. So big shout out to them for making that contact. And I'm really grateful that you've taken the time to speak with me now on a couple of different occasions, because it's really helped me better understand what you guys are trying to accomplish. And I, for one, am very excited for you guys. And I'm excited to kind of watch that journey unfold. So I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us today.
Hey, I can't thank you enough for having me and for being into what we're doing. And thank you so much for your time, and a big shout out to our friends who connected us. And yeah, man, thanks for making time.
No doubt. If you guys have any questions about Menlo, again, the website is menlo.one. Matt, thanks for being here, bud.
Hey, thank you.